Hello, guild members. Here I am from night 2 of GAMA. I want to tell you a little bit about what we saw today. Today, again, was another day of peer-to-peer. There was some premiere presentations done by the manufacturers. I'm not going to talk about those today outside of just saying that there was some today because they left a lot more questions than answers, and I want to get those things clarified before I start giving you all details. So hopefully I'll have more information on those tomorrow. But for tonight, I have another night of board game night and some really great games again. This is, like I said, compared to last year, well, I just was not over impressed overall with some of the games that they had. This year, so many games are just hitting it out of the ballpark. I want to start again with independent game designers. They have just been fantastic this GAMA. Last GAMA, they first started, it's always been a part of it, but like really focusing on trying to help game design and publishing and all those things occur. This year, they've really dedicated a lot of stuff to it. But you can start to see a little bit of the payback from last year's work. And as it's going through, and we're seeing these independent game designers coming up with some fantastic games. So let's start with the first one, a game called Biomes of the Nilgiris. Which is a game based upon you're trying to conserve, discover, and study and journal various biomes. It is a action management and resource management game. You're a researcher. It's asymmetrical, so each person has a different researcher that has a little bit of a different power that they can do exceptionally well. And you will be able to move. You can journal, which is gain information from the biome. You can then study your journal a little bit deeper at your field station. And at the field station, you then turn those journal research into resources you can use to help with conservation. So it's all kind of building into this idea of gaining more knowledge, and the knowledge is the resource that you're using to then fund and be able to gain conservation systems, whether conserving species, which you can play as cards in hand. Part of what you do is you're gaining cards which are equipment or species, using those cards to play down. The species play down the equipment, which then gives you more engine building concepts of abilities that you can use to then go farther along in the game. Played a few rounds of it as part of the demo, and just after about 5 turns, I could already see each of all 3 of us that were playing it were creating a different identity of how to win the game for ourselves. So it was very quick for us to be able to come up with a way to do those engines and work through the game. So it was a lot of fun. Looking forward to be able to bring that into the store this year. Another great one is another conservation nature inspired game called Kavango. This one was, I can't even begin to tell you, the art was so absolutely fantastic. The art was done by one of the 2 game designers. They actually were doing work in I believe they said Botswana, in Africa. And through that, they took pictures and then used the pictures to create the art. Here's an example of the artist's work. You can see how fantastic this looks, and they use this kind of art on the cards in the game. It is a draft based game, but it is a draft engine building based game. You have to draft similar to Seven Wonders, where you're drafting things to be able to do stuff later. In this particular case, you draft biomes or producers, things that are producing stuff into the biome and into the ecosystem. And then you have lower level of the food chain then uses the stuff that the producers make, that you've used that to feed those. And then they will then feed the higher food chain, which would then feed the higher food chain. And so it creates this kind of engine building system based off of a draft mechanic. But it's not just pure draft. You do have to worry about that engine concept, and you have to create your own ecosystems. It is very detailed. Think like Wingspan in terms of the information about the animals is accurate and a game mechanic, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So for my teachers, this game would be fantastic for upper elementary, junior high, high school. And just if you just love playing games, great game to play as well. But the art was phenomenal on it. The gameplay was very well thought out and how everything built upon themselves. And you're using, because the way that everything is working, you can use, as you put in a lower level life form, I'm using that term, they did not. Putting in like a mouse. Okay, so the mouse is eating from the plants. The plants are then feeding the mouse. The mouse then feeds cats, and then so on and so forth. With the mouse, it's a sustainable ecosystem. So just because the mouse still getting eaten by the cat doesn't mean mice go away. They're still thriving, and so it builds off of that. It was a great game. Looking forward to be able to bring that in to the store this year as well. Then we're going to go past independent designers and go with a new one, which I'm sure is going to be big news for a lot of you all. Going to be great fans. Manny Vega and Sandara Tang are once again working together. You may recognize those names from Framecraft. Manny's created another great game, and the art, again, done by Sandara Tang, is absolutely gorgeous. It's a game called Tea Witches. Best way I could to give you an idea of, take the worker placement action economy of Framecraft, mix it with a little bit of the press your luck mechanics and ideas you're going to get from Cracks of Quedlinburg, merge them together, and that's Tea Witches. What it is you are at a tea fair, and you are trying to create the best tea for witches and the coven as you can. In order to do so, you have people who show up to your shop. That's kind of the press your luck mechanic, is familiars and witches will come to the shop. If you have repeats, then you get hexed, because how dare you have two of the same person there, kind of a thing. So you're trying to decide that you can keep playing cards to have people show up to your shop, but if you go too far, then you could lose cards that way. So you got to kind of decide when to stop. With that, there's also mechanics for, after that's done, then you place, you have these living teapot things that then go to the various other shops in town, the more established shops. You go to those places in order to pick up stuff. And there's game mechanics in there, much like Framecraft. It's gonna be very similar. When you go to the shop, different things happen. And there's symbology and all of that to tell you what happens. So that's going to be very familiar. You go around the board placing your familiars. There's another mechanic with to-go orders that you can fulfill as people are placing those teapots, and so on and so forth. It's a really fun game. Blast to be able to play, even the short demo of it. And that's going to be a huge hit. People are going to love it. I know people at HP are going to love it. Just their love of Framecraft, it was be enough to show that. But like I said, throwing a little bit of quacks and same art and same game designer, it's going to be a hit, automatic. So we're definitely going to be working on bringing that in, and hopefully enough copies, because it's going to be a popular game. It's going to be one of those ones that come holiday season, people are going to be asking for, and it's going to be hard to find. Another great game we played was called The Cat Between Us. Cat Between Us is a hand management game. So you're going to be drawing a hand of cards, and then you play the cards down under different cat toys. The cat has a different location in the room, and that location is a value. And you want to try to have three cat toys in your hand at the end of the round that are closest to the value the cat is, so that way you can make sure it plays with your toys and not with others' toys. The issue is when you discard cards down underneath the 6 different cat toys, you're going to be placing a card of a value that's going to change the value of your cat toy at the end of the round. When you play one card, they're playing a card on the same thing, and so you're kind of trying to control the value while also messing up other people's values if you kind of see what they're trying to do. So that way you end up as close as possible for it. And so we played 2 rounds of that. It was a lot of fun. The cat theme obviously was in the toys where the art was very humorous. Seeing a little cat playing with a cactus was funny. And there's some good gameplay mechanics. It's one of those very quick games. It's not going to be super duper deep, but it's a game you can come in and play, have some good strategy, have some good enjoyment out of it. But the rounds take, if you're all paying attention, you all know what you're doing, you're going to be able to play a round in 5 minutes, if that. You go through it until somebody has won 3 rounds, and that's the game. You win 3 rounds you win a round by being the closest to the cat as possible, whatever the cat's value is at based on where it is in the room. That's how you win. And if you win a round, then you get an additional card in hand, which may make it easier and or harder depending on where the cat is in the room. If the cat is in the high end of the room, high point value, having more cards is very useful because you're still going to play the same number of cards down. You just have more cards in hand at the end of the round. If it's on the lower end or lower numbers, you don't want more cards. So it could be both a hindrance or a benefit depending on how the cat feels. And there's a mechanic in which changes where the cat's location is at a randomness of a deck shuffle. So that was a fun little quick game. Another great game we saw. Let me see. We did Biomes, we did T-Witches, Cat Between Us, Cavango, and Forges of Ravenshire. Forges of Ravenshire has already been released, but I haven't had a chance to really see it yet. So got a chance tonight. It is another great. It's dice rolling worker placement. So your dice as you roll are your workers, but it's more than just the randomness of the die roll that does come into play. But as you play a die, you can take a die and then put it in your guild's. Creates an engine system, so it's not just what you roll. If you roll poorly, you're in trouble. You got a way to work through that. And also, just their rolling poorly may mean different things at different times. So just because not every action you take wants to have a high value. Some of them want low values. And so there is a balance with that. So it was a very interesting game. The art was fun. It was anthropomorphic forest animals doing armory, being armor smiths and blacksmiths, and fulfilling orders for anthropomorphic forest animal warriors. And so very fun setting, good engine builder, resource management, worker placement. And so those were the great games that we were able to play tonight. More games we're looking forward to be able to bring into the store. It's been a really great GAMA Expo so far, especially on the board game nights. We've seen some real big fun games. So we're looking forward to getting them. Looking forward to seeing what's coming next tomorrow. And hope we'll have another update and we'll go from there. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.